Chosen one, today we will dive into a fundamental topic for your spiritual journey. Why those who have been set apart by God, endowed with a greater purpose, end up attracting people with questionable intentions and even malicious influences in the invisible realm. Perhaps you have already noticed that the stronger your faith becomes, the more strange and challenging situations seem to arise. This is not a coincidence. There is a deep reason behind it. Our goal here is to clarify these mechanisms, helping you understand what is happening in your life, why the enemy tries so hard to destabilize you, and most importantly, how to remain firm in the face of these attacks. Let's talk about the power of your inner light and the discomfort it causes in the darkness. We will also address the role of trials, showing that they are not mere obstacles, but opportunities for strengthening. You will discover that, behind the negative onslaughts, there is a reflection of the positive impact you are creating, even without realizing it. It's not just about resisting evil, but understanding that every difficulty overcome brings you closer to a broader divine purpose. We will also discuss the spiritual weapons you already possess, like prayer, forgiveness, the practice of unconditional love, and the constant search for truth, which are capable of neutralizing the dark intentions that seek to lead you astray. Before we move on, don't forget, your participation makes all the difference. If this message resonates with what you've been experiencing, subscribe to the channel and leave a like. This simple act helps spread the content to other chosen ones who need this guidance. By doing so, you strengthen our community of faith and learning. So, click to subscribe and like now, and soon we'll continue diving deeper into this important topic for your spiritual journey. As soon as you decide to strengthen your bond with the divine and follow a path based on spiritual sincerity, opposing forces begin to move to pull you away from the purpose that has been granted to you. It is normal to notice that just when your faith deepens and your inner light expands, unexpected people cross your path and strange circumstances occur, creating insecurity, fear, and doubts. This does not happen by chance. Your presence, illuminated by faith, disturbs those who remain in the shadows, causing the dark side to seek gaps to destabilize you. As someone chosen, you carry within you an impressive potential. The spiritual adversary recognizes this potential and fears that by staying firm in divine guidance, you will become an agent of transformation, shaking negative structures. That is why, as you grow in confidence and communion with God, obstacles seem to arise from all sides. It may be a suddenly hostile colleague, an old acquaintance resurfacing with bad intentions, or even everyday situations that become complicated for no apparent reason. These unforeseen events are not mere setbacks. They are carefully engineered to undermine your faith and confuse you about the path set by the Creator in your life. Understanding this dynamic is the first step to not falling into traps. By realizing that such barriers reflect the positive impact of your presence, you begin to see them not as failures, but as part of the natural process of spiritual maturity. Often, the adversary does not reveal itself clearly. Instead, it prefers to use those you would least expect. A friend who now makes malicious comments, a relative who plants uncertainties, or even someone from the religious community who, unknowingly, acts as an instrument of disturbance. These influences act subtly, planting doubts in your heart and questioning your spiritual identity. However, the more solid your faith becomes, the easier it will be to recognize these tricks. God grants discernment to distinguish who truly supports your journey from those who try to lead you astray. Perseverance in divine truth is the pillar that will keep you firm. No malicious criticism or negative insinuation can extinguish the flame that God has ignited in you. Instead of being shaken, remember that attempts to make you doubt yourself are signs that you are on the right path. Your faith is a mighty force, and the adversary knows this. That is why it will try to pull you away from the destined path, but you already have the necessary tools to resist. Sincere prayer, the practice of forgiveness, selfless love, and unwavering adherence to divine principles. By maintaining this posture, your light will continue to shine, regardless of who wants to extinguish it. By choosing to live according to God's values, your reach goes beyond what you can imagine. Divine truth not only guides your path, but also illuminates the dark areas of the soul, revealing lies and masks that were previously unnoticed. This exposure disturbs those who prefer to hide in falsehoods. As you maintain spiritual integrity, you become an insurmountable obstacle for the dark side. The adversary despises souls that do not yield to empty or deceptive offers. By staying faithful to the truth, your light becomes a tool against illusion. The truth liberates, and evil fears this freedom, as it prefers to see you trapped in fears and uncertainties. Holding firmly to the truth that comes from God, you not only protect yourself, but also expand your perception, identifying traps that were previously invisible. Living according to divine precepts is not simple, for there will be constant challenges. Those who do not want to face their own flaws will try to bring you down, exactly because your firmness forces them to confront uncomfortable truths. However, this posture of yours disturbs the darkness. Each trial overcome strengthens your resilience, and evil, realizing it cannot manipulate you easily, intensifies its efforts, but in vain, for it cannot defeat the unshakable light of someone who relies on God. This strength not only keeps you standing, but also serves as an inspiration for others who are seeking hope. By seeing your determination, people who are still groping in the darkness realize that there is a path of peace, faith, and honesty. Your silent example demonstrates that it is possible to overcome deceptions and persist in goodness, even in the face of opposing pressures. The difficulties that arise do not indicate that you are failing. On the contrary, they show that you are advancing spiritually. Each obstacle is a reminder that your light makes a difference, disturbs those who dwell in the shadows, and tries to neutralize your growth. However, guided by the truth, you move forward, immune to the maneuvers of evil. Those who are anchored in God find solidity and hope, regardless of the challenges that appear. Thus, your faith remains unbreakable, and your path remains illuminated, reflecting the divine essence you carry within. Thus, as you strengthen your faith and deepen your trust in God, you realize that the enemy increasingly struggles to shake your emotions or make you give up the spiritual path you have chosen. Your inner firmness becomes a real barrier against negative influences. The more you remain solid in belief, the less space these forces find to manipulate you, which deeply disturbs them. After all, you become someone who does not easily give in to provocations, who is not affected by unjust rumors, and who does not lose their calm in the face of conflicting situations. Imagine a person who, despite hearing unfounded criticism or facing discouraging situations, does not take their eyes off the divine purpose they have embraced. This kind of attitude, sustained by faith, not only protects you against evil, but also serves as an inspiration for those observing you. Those who have not yet discovered the light realize that it is possible to overcome difficulties without surrendering to despair. Your serene and determined posture shows that obstacles are not necessarily defeats, but opportunities for growth. However, do not expect evil to give up easily. When it realizes that its direct attempts to weaken you fail, the enemy changes strategies, making the pressures more subtle and complex. There may be setbacks that challenge your patience or negative people who try to undermine your confidence. At such times, cultivating a consistent spiritual life is essential. Practices like prayer, reflection, reading the scriptures, and seeking communion with God become fundamental. These actions not only keep you connected to divine strength, but also help identify risks before they turn into bigger problems. Over time, your ability to remain firm, even in the midst of emotional storms, serves as a warning to the dark forces. They understand that you are not deceived by appearances or simple manipulations. This irritates them, as their goal is to make you waver and abandon your mission. People around you may wonder where this stability comes from. Some may find it strange that even in the face of losses, injustices, or rejections, you remain firm in faith. This is the crucial point. Your strength does not come from human abilities, but from an unbreakable connection with God. The enemy understands this perfectly. It knows that your communion with the Creator keeps you out of reach of tricks. This forces it to try everything, create intrigues in your relationships, sow negative thoughts, or exploit insecurities you may not even have known existed. But by understanding that the battle is spiritual, you do not despair. Instead, you turn to prayer, meditation, and discernment that comes from a life of faith. You realize that you are not alone, that there is a greater force sustaining your steps. It is important to recognize that this battle is not simple. Evil will not simply give up. It may make traps more subtle, introducing seemingly harmless temptations, but capable of gradually diverting your focus. That is why vigilance is essential. The habit of cultivating your relationship with God, remaining sensitive to His voice, and seeking what is true, helps you stay alert. Thus, even when pressures arise, you will be prepared. This spiritual stability does not benefit only you. By staying firm, you show those who follow your journey that faith is not fragile, but a real force, capable of sustaining you in the most adverse circumstances. This silent example awakens hope in those who thought there was no way out. Evil knows that every act of resistance inspires others to seek the same source of strength and light. The enemy tries to undermine your confidence because it knows the transformative potential of your faith. However, by strengthening yourself in prayer, practicing good, and communing with God, you not only overcome trials, but also show others a path of hope. This spiritual firmness, shaped by difficulties, becomes a shield against negative influences. Even if evil persists, it will not find gaps in a heart anchored in the Creator, and your light will continue to shine, guiding you and inspiring those around you. As soon as you decide to strengthen your connection with the sacred and remain firm in the truth that God has revealed to you, notice that not only does your faith increase, but also the discomfort of the enemy in the face of your light. You, as a chosen one, become an obstacle that is increasingly difficult to overcome. The more unshakable your trust in the Creator becomes, the less room evil finds to affect your emotions or divert you from the divine plan. Imagine a person who, despite facing gossip, unjust criticism, or unexpected setbacks, does not take their eyes off the mission that God has placed in their heart. Their firmness bothers the darkness because it shows that you are not deceived by appearances nor shaken by empty provocations. Your inner strength inspires others to do the same, showing that faith is not a distant ideal, but a reality that can sustain someone, even in the worst storms. It's like seeing a bright lighthouse in the middle of a dark sea, indicating that there is a safe direction to follow. But do not expect the adversary to give up easily. When it realizes that you do not give in to obvious pressures, it tries to act more subtly. It might be a seemingly well-intentioned piece of advice from someone who wants you to relax your faith, or small everyday worries that quietly accumulate, trying to distract you from the essential. The key is to stay vigilant. By creating habits like daily prayer, reading the scriptures, and inner reflection, you remain alert. This way, you can identify dangers before they become major traps. When things seem out of control, it is normal to feel insecurity or apprehension, but the difference lies in knowing where to seek refuge. By handing your worries to God, you turn fear into serenity. This ability to convert tension into calm leaves the enemy disoriented, as he expected you to give in to panic. Instead, you find peace in the divine presence, further strengthening your firm stance. Another fundamental aspect is forgiveness. Evil would love for you to hold on to grudges, because resentment opens emotional gaps. When you choose to forgive, you free yourself from that burden and prevent the enemy from planting bitterness. It's like cleaning the lens through which you see the world, ensuring that your light is not overshadowed by negative feelings. Forgiving does not mean agreeing with offenses, but refusing to carry the weight of the past. This keeps your energy aligned with God's will, leaving the enemy no space to act. Being a light in this world does not mean there will be no struggles. It means that, even in the face of adversity, you remain connected to the divine purpose. It's like choosing to keep walking, even when the ground is rough. Those around you may not understand your perseverance. Some may find it strange that, in the face of losses or injustices, you still maintain peace. But remember, your strength does not come from circumstances, but from the unbreakable bond with God. The enemy knows this. He understands that your connection with the Creator places you beyond the reach of easy manipulations. Therefore, he tries to create conflicts, spread negative ideas, or mess with your weaknesses. However, by recognizing that the battle is spiritual, you do not despair. You turn to prayer, faith, and discernment to keep your mind clear. You know you are not alone, and there is a greater power guiding your steps. Over time, this spiritual stability makes it clear that evil cannot bend you with lies or illusions. This deeply irritates the darkness, because your firmness shows others that they can also resist. Your silent and consistent posture serves as encouragement for those observing from afar, proving that faith is not something fragile, but a solid foundation. By understanding all of this, you see that each obstacle is not a defeat, but a stage of growth. Your faith, shaped by challenges, becomes a shield against attempts to lead you astray. Even if evil intensifies its efforts, it cannot prevail against a heart anchored in God. Your light remains, your path remains illuminated, and your testimony grows stronger, inspiring others to find the same source of hope. Thus, knowing that evil reacts to your faith should not scare you, but motivate you to continue. Your determination disturbs the darkness, but strengthens your communion with the divine. So you move forward, confident that despite all obstacles, the light continues to shine, revealing how trust in God is stronger than any opposing attack. You, the chosen one, know very well that following the path that God has laid out for you does not guarantee a smooth journey. On the contrary, as you draw closer to the Father and seek to live the truth He has placed in your heart, certain obstacles become more and more present. It's as if by shining more brightly, your light disturbs the environment around you, awakening opposing reactions. People who were once friendly may show opposition to your stance of faith. Unexpected situations arise out of nowhere, and an atmosphere of uncertainty seems to envelop everything. This does not mean that you are doing something wrong. On the contrary, it is a sign that your spiritual light is standing out, disturbing those who prefer the shadows. Over time, you realize that you are not truly fighting against other human beings, but against invisible influences that are contrary to your purpose. The scripture itself reminds us, "For our struggle is not against flesh and blood, but against the rulers, against the authorities. Ephesians 6:12. These invisible powers operate subtly, without fanfare, trying to divert you from the path. A poorly chosen word, a seemingly innocent piece of advice, a mundane event that suddenly transforms into an emotional obstacle. All of these could be strategies to undermine your trust. But understanding this scenario is the key to not falling into these traps. Consider a simple example. You commit to dedicating more time to prayer, and soon after, a series of unforeseen events arises that steals your peace. It could be someone knocking on your door asking for an endless favor, an unexpected phone call that brings bad news, or even your own mind insisting on distracting you with unimportant problems. None of this is a coincidence. These setbacks aim to pull you away from the peace that communion with God provides. By recognizing the pattern, you gain discernment to not be led astray. Another important point is that you do not need to go through these trials alone. There are other chosen ones facing similar challenges. By sharing your experiences, you find support and collective wisdom. Talking with people who understand the weight of spiritual battles helps you maintain balance. For example, imagine finding someone who also faced difficult times in faith and, through perseverance, overcame insecurities similar to yours. Knowing that you are not alone encourages you to remain steadfast, no matter what arises to disturb you. For this reason, maintaining a lifestyle attuned to God is so important. Prayer, reading the scriptures, and the constant exercise of love create an invisible barrier, making it more difficult for evil to launch its attacks. Along this journey, you learn to turn every obstacle into a step toward growth. Fear and insecurity will arise, but you know where to find refuge, in the divine presence. By handing your concerns over to God, you transform anguish into serenity. The adversary becomes lost in the face of this ability to respond to chaos with confidence. In the end, understanding that difficulties and negative influences do not appear by chance, but rather reflect your light unsettling the darkness, changes the way you face problems. Instead of feeling it is unfair to attract so much negativity, you see it as evidence that your light makes a difference. Your faith, forged in trials, becomes a shield against the onslaughts of evil. Your life inspires those who watch from afar, showing that there is no opposing force capable of extinguishing the light that God has placed within you. This awareness does not exempt you from battles, but it guarantees that regardless of what happens, you will remain firm. Thus, every victory confirms that nothing, no darkness or opposing force, can extinguish the light that God has placed within you. Now that you better understand the reason behind the difficulties that arise when you draw closer to God, we invite you to participate in this dialogue. How have you been dealing with situations that try to divert you from your divine purpose? Have you identified moments when your faith irritated opposing forces? What have you learned from these experiences? Leave your comment below, share your story, and help other chosen ones understand that, despite the challenges, the light within each of us is unquenchable. Your voice is important and can inspire those who need a reminder that faith is stronger than any shadow.